The supreme energy, God, the universal God, the God beyond any names and representing every name given to God, is also called the Creator. He is the origin of everything, and He is the new origin of everything, because in the creation nothing dies but transforms itself. So there is no death, but just a continuous transformation. Within this process of creation and constant transformation, new beings are constantly created and transformed. Therefore, the creation is in a constant transformation, is never the same. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, described this with the following words: Panta rei, that means everything flows. Nothing is always the same, everything flows, everything transforms. And therefore, we can say everything is a new creation thanks to the transformation. Everything created by the Supreme Energy, God, has the same characteristics of God. And what is the main characteristic of God? The capacity to create. Therefore, the main characteristic of everything created is the capacity to create. Even things which to our eyes seem motionless, like the earth, then human beings discovered that the earth is not motionless, but it rotates around the sun. And even the rocks, with their slow movements, they create new choreographies. Therefore, whatever has been created has the ability, the capacity to create new creations, which will have the ability to create new creations, which will have the ability to create again new creations, and so on, so on, so on. Although there was a beginning of the universe in which we are, everything created within this universe began to create, gradually improving their skills so that the creation was enriched with new beings who gradually became more and more perfect. In the religious myths of our Western society, we are told that the human being was the best result obtained in creation, the one nearest to God. And in fact, we human beings not only create because we generate new human beings, but we create through art, through the very many discoveries that we put together. Not least, we see now with the artificial intelligence that humanity is creating something that more and more will gain independence of will, deed, and yes, thoughts. In the very first ages of humanity, that we nowadays, with incredible presumption, call them primitive, knowledge was immense, because the human race was still very near to the universal creator, God, and wasn't the result of the following creations who generated new creations in creating new kind of human beings, who little by little lost their connection to their original God, the one who gave origin to all this universe of ours. If you approach the ancient times without the silly presumption that we nowadays know more, you will be extremely impressed by the fact that many things that nowadays we think are the result of science, of human science, were already known at that time. Just take the Veda, for instance, the most ancient spiritual book of humanity. I should say spiritual books, there are many, derived from the ancient Indo-Aryan culture of the Indian subcontinent, which began as an oral tradition that was passed down through generations before finally being written in Vedic Sanskrit between 1500 and 500 before Common Era, before Christ. You will discover that all the mathematics that we think to have discovered, beginning with the Greeks and continuing up to nowadays, or the quantum physics, which is something very new, belonging to this latest century, well, they were already known at that very ancient time. Or have you ever wondered how could the Egyptians build the huge pyramids without having the technology we have nowadays? Buildings which lasted centuries, millenniums, and are still here today. While what we build today with our technology won't be able to resist the stress of time. Therefore, we see that we have lost that connection with the original God, the creator of our universe, because we are not anymore the first children of that God, but we are the children of the different beings that this universal God created, who, as I said already, generated new children, who generated new children, and so on, and so on. So we can say we are the children, the creations of lesser gods. Let's talk about studies on the Israeli religion that we all know was the source of Christianity and later of the Muslim religion. Before Yahweh becoming the Israeli God, there was El, who is considered the original God, and Yahweh, one of his sons. El was strongly present in Iron Age, and Yahweh considered a warrior god, somehow became his successor and finally was considered the God of Israel, and therefore also the God of the Christians and of the Muslims when they refer to God. If you are interested in this topic, you may Google El versus Yahweh, and you will find a lot of studies talking about this passage from El to Yahweh. This example you can easily find in internet. Not easy to find are examples of the lesser gods created by the original God, who they themselves created new generations, new humanities. But you will find a lot of New Agers that through channeling will talk about good aliens, bad aliens, sometimes calling them angels, sometimes calling them demons, where each holder of a specific experience will fight the other ones with the opposite experience, constantly quarreling on whether they are good or bad, on whether they want to destroy humanity or they want to help. But in the very end, they both are right. You may call them angels, devils, aliens, good or bad. They are the lesser gods, who created and are still creating a very variegated humanity, with a soul, without a soul, with a specific sense of morality that is not at all the same for everyone, because it all depends on the kind of gods that have been creating that specific human race, human beings that are now all together here on this earth.